Welcome to another of our GST titled Philosophy and Logic. This material is from National Open University of Nigeria. My name is Dan Asukwo, your instructor. Are you writing any of the GSTs soon, or you want to improve your knowledge on philosophy and logic? If so, let us know on the comment section so that we can help you out. If you are a noun student or from any other universities, this will be very useful for you. Please do well to share it with others as well as on your study groups. If this is your first time of coming across our videos, why not do well to subscribe, like, comment, and share for others too to benefit. Unit 3, Logic's Vocabulary 2, 1.0. Introduction. This study unit is the continuation of the preceding one, Unit 2. It intends to introduce you to some basic concepts logicians use, but it focuses particularly on the definition, validity, and invalidity of an argument, the subject or predicate term in major, minor, and middle terms. 2.0, Intended Learning Outcomes. By the end of this unit, you will be able to differentiate between valid and invalid arguments, demonstrate logical skills arguments. 3.0, Main Content. 3.1, Argument. An argument is a group of propositions that can be structured into two parts, that is, premise S, which is also known as reason, and conclusion, which can also be known as claim. The premises, which are some of the statements in an argument, is said to provide reasons, for which the conclusion is affirmed. The conclusion, which is part of the statements in an argument, is affirmed based on the other statements, which are called premises. At least two propositions or statements form an argument, otherwise it is not argument. But not all the statements are arguments. Some non-argumentative uses of statements, such as in reports, illustration, explanatory statements, conditional statement, etc., are sometimes confused with arguments. As earlier stated, at least two statements or propositions form an argument. In the case of two propositions, only one must be the premise while the other must be the conclusion. For instance, as soon as Ronaldo scores the second goal, the match ended. Here the conclusion is the match ended, while the premise is Ronaldo scores the second goal. The expression as soon as stands as premise indicator. When more than two propositions or statements form an argument, one must be a conclusion while the others must be premises. Example, all women are caring. Ada is a mother, therefore Ada is caring. You should always remember that no matter how many premises form an argument can never have more than one conclusion. 3.2. Valid and invalid arguments. An argument is said to be valid when the conclusion of that argument is derived from or follows from the premises. In other words, in a valid argument, it is necessary that if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. Thus, in any valid argument, there is an absolute connection between the premises and the conclusion. In any valid argument, it is impossible for the conclusion to be false when the premises are true. For example, all Americans are proud. Peter is an American. Therefore, Peter is proud. What matters most here is the link between the premises and the conclusion, rather than on the truth or falsity of the statements comprising the arguments. Example, all birds have beaks. Some cats are birds, so some cats have beaks. Here you can see that although the second premise is false, the argument is still valid, because when the premises are assumed to be true, the conclusion must be true also. In logic proper, an argument can still be valid when all the premises are false. For example, all men are monkeys. All monkeys are politicians, so all men are politicians. However, it is not also advisable to hastily conclude that an argument is valid simply because its premises are all true. Example, some Nigerians are bad. Ukwa is a Nigerian. Therefore, Ukwa is bad. An argument can have true premises and true conclusion but may not necessarily be valid, because sometimes the premises may not support the conclusion in the right way. Are the premises actually true? Is the argument valid? These are two distinct and fundamental questions in logic. In logic proper, validity only preserves truth but cannot preserve falsehood. In all, you must know that a valid argument is concerned with the structure of the argument and not the content. An invalid argument is the opposite of valid one. But invalid argument has a peculiar characteristic. For instance, It is not necessary that if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. In conclusion, any valid argument with all premises true is a sound argument. Any valid argument with at least one false premise is an unsound argument. All invalid arguments are unsound. 3.3. Subject or predicate term. Remember that we can talk either of the subject term of a proposition or the subject term of a syllogism or of an argument. But always remember that in logic proper, you must talk of the subject term of a proposition. Syllogism is more than a preposition. Syllogism is an argument that contains and must contain three propositions, two of which are called the premises and one the conclusion. A typical case of a syllogism is, all black women are beautiful. Casey Ngaman is a black woman. Therefore, Casey Ngaman is beautiful. In this syllogism, Casey Ngaman is beautiful is known as conclusion, and it necessarily follows from the first and second prepositions, which serve as premises of the syllogism. You can see that a whole syllogism can neither be asserted nor denied. But the sentence, Casey Ngaman is beautiful, which stands here as a preposition, can be asserted or denied. As the subject of the proposition, it is called the subject term. So Casey Ngaman is beautiful is the subject term of the above proposition. As it is with the subject term, so it is with the predicate term. The logician does not talk of the predicate term of an argument or syllogism. In logic, we talk of the predicate term of a preposition. For instance, in the preposition, Casey Ngaman is beautiful. The predicate of the preposition is beautiful. In conclusion, you should always remember that in logic proper, subject and predicate term are associated with individual propositions only. It does not matter whether that individual proposition is a premise or a conclusion. 3.4. Major, minor, and middle terms. Major term. Major, minor, and middle terms are all parts of a syllogism. But unlike predicate or subject term as seen earlier, a logician can never talk of major, minor, or middle term of a reposition. For instance, in an argument or in a syllogism, the predicate term of the conclusion becomes automatically the major term of the syllogism. For example, all Cameroonians are footballers. Itu is a Cameroonian, therefore Etu is a footballer. Footballer is the predicate term of the conclusion in the above example, but it automatically becomes the major term of the syllogism. So, footballer is the major term of the syllogism. You should always remember also that in logic, the premise containing the major of the syllogism is referred to as the major premise of that syllogism. Thus, in the above example, the premise, all Cameroonians are footballers, which contains the major term of the syllogism, footballer, becomes the major premise of the syllogism, because it contains the major term of that syllogism, minor term. As it is with the major term, so it is with the minor term. That is, the logician does not talk of the minor term of a proposition, but rather of the minor term of a syllogism. Always remember that in any syllogism, the subject or the subject term of the conclusion becomes automatically the minor term of that syllogism. For instance, all Cameroonians are footballers. ETO is a Cameroonian. Therefore, ETO is a footballer. In the above example, ETO is the subject term of the conclusion, and it automatically becomes the minor term of that syllogism. So ETO is the minor term of the above syllogism. In logic, the premise that contains the minor term of the syllogism is called the minor premise of that syllogism. Thus, in the above example, the premise ETO is a Cameroonian, which contains the minor term of the syllogism, ETO, is called the minor premise because it contains the minor term of that syllogism. Middle term. As it is with the major and minor terms, so it is with the middle term. That is, the logician does not talk of the middle term of a proposition, but rather of the middle term of a syllogism. Always remember that in any syllogism, the term that occurs in both premises, but does not occur in conclusion, is called the middle term of that syllogism. For instance, all Cameroonians are footballers. ETO is a Cameroonian. Therefore, ETO is a footballer. You can see that in the above syllogism, Cameroonians is the middle term because the term Cameroonian occurs in both the major and minor premises but does not occur in the conclusion. 4.0. Conclusion. Logicians argue with subject or predicate term with major emphasis on predicate, subject, major, minor, and middle terms. 5.0. Summary. To get the best of this unit, you may need to repay it again. Also drop a comment on the comment section stating the important lesson learned.